Hi there everybody, this is David, and we have some new news about Final Fantasy VII Revelation and what characters we might be seeing, what kind of Easter eggs we might be seeing in the game, and this comes straight from the director himself, and I'm going to tell you all about it, and that's totally worth a sub as you come and you join a party and you level on up with me. Thank you so much for your sub, your like, and your brand new hype. It helps me out a ton. So basically, he's going on record. People are asking him and saying, hey, you know what? We saw some other characters from some other spin-off games back in Remake and Rebirth. Are we going to be seeing more of those characters? Are we going to be seeing characters from Advent Children, Dirge of Cerberus, Crisis Core? What exactly is going on here? So Hamaguchi, he is the director, he said, our goal is to create a single new Final Fantasy VII that incorporates the settings and concepts of all the previous spin-off titles. So again, I know a lot of people are like, this isn't the exact game, this isn't one-for-one remake. And you know, we have the original game, and I understand people's frustrations with this. I understand where people are coming from, but it's also kind of nice to get like, I don't know, just like a new take on things, you know what I mean? So yeah. He goes on to say, at this time, it's best not to say whether Cissnei will appear or not. Now, but that's kind of odd because Cissnei already did appear. So she first came about in Final Fantasy VII Crisis Core, and then Crisis Core got remade, and then she was a little bit expanded and everything, and then she came in as like a pretty big deal character in Rebirth. We saw her back in Gongaga Village, and the party kind of split up. She helped them kind of like hang out. She looked at the reactor. That's whenever you heard like the weapon and everything going on at the reactor. So the boys went off to investigate that. The girls stayed behind to protect the village. And then of course, you know, Cissnei had to kind of like go with them. And then they did this whole like chocobo exploration thing. And it was pretty cool. It was pretty neat. So I think that Cissnei's going to have, you know, more to do with this game. He goes on to say, and we already know this, he says, this Final Fantasy VII Remake series is not simply a recreation of the original work, but rather our goal is to create a single new Final Fantasy VII that incorporates the settings and concepts of all the previous spin-off titles such as Advent Children, Dirge of Cerberus, and Crisis Core. He also points to the Dirge of Cerberus characters who popped up in the Intergrade DLC. Okay, so Dirge of Cerberus. This was a PlayStation 2 game that starred Vincent Valentine, and this took place 3 years after the events of the original Final Fantasy VII. I remember when this came out, and I loved Final Fantasy VII, you know, but then whenever I saw it in the store, I was like, I don't know about this. I saw it like at Best Buy, and it was like bargain bin. It was like $8.99 or something, or $11.99. It was like bargain bin. And I'm looking at it, and I'm like, should I go ahead and get this? I don't know. I knew it was a shooter. I knew it wasn't really my thing. I was still very not good at 3D games, let alone shooting and aiming and everything. So I remember looking at it, thinking about it, passing, and I never actually played Dirge of Cerberus. I would like to play Dirge of Cerberus now, just to, you know more about it and everything. But yeah, so two characters from Dirge of Cerberus did make an appearance, but they only made an appearance in the intermission in Yuffie's and Sonon's story. We saw Vice the Immaculate, who was basically just like an optional boss, and then the big boss was Nero the Sable, who is Vice's younger brother. So yeah, we did see some people from there. He goes on to say, so the concept of these other characters will of course carry over into Part 3 Revelation as well. It's not going to be limited to just Cissnei. For the last entry, there will be characters that have appeared in the various Final Fantasy VII compilation games that I think will be there. And each of these characters has a large and dedicated fan base, so we want to create a work that can satisfy the feelings of those people. So he's saying that there's going to be more characters that are going to be added, more characters that are going to be expanded upon and fleshed out, which I think is a good thing. I mean, if you're going to go ahead and you're going to do this thing, and you are going to, you know, really make this huge remake and everything, you might as well get it right the first time, you know what I mean? Because they're not going to be doing it again after all this, like, my God. So if they want to take these characters and they want to bring them in and they want to expand upon them, you might as well do it now. Personally, here's my thing. I have always thought of the other games, Advent Children, Crisis Core, Dirge of Cerberus, I've always thought of them, especially Crisis Core, as like fan fiction. You know what I mean? You have Angel and Genesis, and they're going on about Loveless, and they're talking about poetry and all this kind of weirdo stuff and everything, and I'm like, this is so odd, you know? Like it's like, to me, it's almost like a poorly written fan fiction, sort. You know what I'm saying? So I mean, maybe that's just my take. I don't know. Everybody's gonna scream at me in the comments. Oh my God, how dare you say that? You know, this is the scriptures or whatever. So yeah. Personally though, I would like to see characters that were in the original Final Fantasy VII, not in the spin-offs, in the original Final Fantasy VII actually expanded upon more. That's what I would like to see. I would like to see maybe Reeve expanded upon more. You know, just the Turks in general. We got to say the Turks, but I think that Reeve needs kind of a deep dive. And I feel like he needs more of like a redemption arc. And there are many times that we could see Reeve kind of become like maybe even a playable character. Not to fight or anything, but to help out the party in some ways. Like maybe during the execution scene, you know? You could kind of like switch control to Reeve, and maybe he has to like, you know, help out the party in some way by activating switches or opening up doors or something like that, or maybe like controlling Cait Sith in that sort of way, and then we'll be able to see more about how he actually does that, how he takes control of Cait Sith. I think that would be really, really interesting. Another thing that I think would be really interesting would be Reeve is the one. He's the one who has to go and find Aerith's mother and tell her about what happened to her. So that could be a good opportunity to, you know, see more about his thoughts and his feelings and what is going on, and then also see more about the exploration of Midgar and kind of get to see what the townsfolk feel about Shinra and the Turks and things like that as you're going around and you're talking to these various NPCs. I think that would be very interesting. Another thing that might be interesting would be getting more information on Ifalna, who is Aerith's real mother. And, you know, we know that she was in Shinra. We know that she kind of escaped there whenever Aerith was like a little baby and all that kind of stuff. So maybe we get to see more on that. I think that that would be really, really, really interesting to just see like more background on the characters that I feel like matter, you know? Not the fan fiction-y characters, the actual characters that matter, I think need a lot more just fleshing out, you know? I think that that would be really cool. But now I want to hear from y'all, what do you think about this? What do you think about those spin-off games and the characters that are introduced there and all that kind of stuff? Let me know down in the comments, and as always, have a good day.